Chris, I just remind you that your friends have talked about bottom up and top
Bottom up
down,
and
and also
approach.
schema and teaching objectives, and you also and the last is you.
Right. So
Okay. Yeah.
from if we're just going based on that, Danada has already talked about her bottom-up and top-down approach to how you would actually, explain the English methods of speaking or listening. Yuval has talked about schema using the ocean as an example. Well, he talked about the ocean at least. And Zivanka and Karen has talked about how to develop your teaching objectives and also the activities. And I lastly talked about how to evaluate that your students has attained a teaching objective. Now, what my friends have actually fully said for their parts, I cannot really reiterate, as I cannot hear any of my friends at all. It is just a jumble of sounds. This is
Oh,
why I should get
okay.
a new laptop.
No problem, Chris. Okay. Well, thank you very much for group one presentations. Give applause, everybody, to them. Give emoticon to them. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for helping us to understand the teaching of listening and speaking. I just want to highlight some important points you made, guys. Bottom up and top down, they are not literal meaning. Bottom up and top down, they are metaphor. Yeah, they are not really something that's up and down now, but they are metaphor. How we process and do the learning strategies. In order for learners to understand the message using bottom up, it means that they focus on what they are seeing, what they are listening, okay, without involving their previously learned knowledge or experience. They focus on the text itself. Meanwhile, top down, it means that they activate their schema, their knowledge, yeah, in order to understand information they receive. So schema refers to anything we know, experience, situation that happened in the past, skills, and those are the things that you receive from past experience. We have different kind of schemas, right? We have schemas for teaching, schemas for speaking, foreign languages, schemas for cooking. So there are a lot of schemas in your brain, and they are kept in the so-called long-term memory. Yeah, so in your long-term memory, there are a lot of drawers. I like to use the word drawer just to help you understand that schemas, sort of the uh, big compartments that you put all informations there, and skills you keep there. Yeah, so you have a lot of uh, abilities, yeah, to do that. Okay, that's schema. And Chris also has concluded uh, with good explanations about the importance of having clear objectives. And we have to set aside things beyond our teaching objectives. And for that reason, we have to have clear teaching objective, and all teachers can do is try to achieve that. And how do we know that? Okay, Chris mentioned we use evaluation, but in English language teaching, it is more common to use the word assessments, Chris. Yeah. So evaluation is for programs, but assessment mostly used for learning. So there are some kinds of assessment, but mostly experts mention two different kinds of assessment. There is assessment of learning and assessment for learning. All right. So assessment of learning is sort of a summative test, like a final examination. Okay. And so teachers provide questions, provide activities that cover the whole things that he or she has taught to the student. Yeah, that is judgmental. But assessment for learning, it is assessment that encourages students to study. Okay, I do hope that you find my explanations clear. Yeah, the revised Bloom taxonomy theories. Okay, who will be studying?
So I will be answering the question of why is this theory important for teachers to learn. So the Bloom's taxonomy is beneficial for teachers because it aids students' thinking skills, which ranges from retaining knowledge, which is the most basic skill, to evaluation, which is judging and expressing an opinion about an information. This is really important to note because not all information has to be expanded by the students and not all information can be treated the same. Some only has to be memorized. For example, when teaching English to a student with no prior experience in English, memorizing the grammar formula takes precedence over understanding why a sentence is structured in a particular way.
And apply is to use the ideas or concept and apply it to new situation. Students may solve problems in new situation by applying acquired knowledge, facts, techniques, and rules in different way. The ability to use and demonstrate.
Okay, the next one is higher order thinking. Higher order thinking is thinking on a level that is higher than memorizing facts or retelling something back to someone that exactly the way it was told to us. Higher order thinking or HOT takes thinking to higher level than restating the facts. Higher order thinking requires that we do something with the facts. HOT has 3 levels which are analyze, evaluate, and create.
The next part of higher order of thinking is evaluate. It means making judgments about something based on criteria and standards. This requires checking and critiquing an argument or concept to form an opinion about its value. Often there is not a clear or correct answer to this type of question. Rather, it's about making a judgment and supporting it with reasons and evidence.
Thank you very much. I think you did a very good preparation, and the slides are super cool, and that helps us understand what you present. Okay. Angela is right that we must understand the revised Bloom taxonomy theories because that's going to help us, for example, creating lessons plan and other activities in the classrooms. And that will make teachers focus on everything that is going on in the classroom. Next, our friends Jennifer, if I'm not mistaken, and also Michelle, to talk about lower order of thinking and higher order of thinking. But I think bear in mind the differences between lower and higher order of thinking. Why are they called higher and lower? In what way are they different? Okay, so with lower order of thinking, it means that students do not invest much thinking capacity in achieving certain skills because they are helped to attain particular level of cognitive like remembering and then understanding and then applying. More difficult tasks are called higher, yeah, so higher than the previous ones. Those include analyzing. Students are encouraged to select, to identify particular aspects of topics they are learning. For example, when teachers are teaching a poem, teacher has explained different elements of poems like themes, like settings, and like moral messages, and the students are encouraged to find out those elements and give a reasonable conclusion and reasonable arguments. And next higher level is co-evaluation. Yeah. Well, it is not simply saying something this is good and the other is bad, but students must give logical argument as well. And the last one is creating, yeah, and that's the most difficult, the most challenging task. For example, like at the end of your study, you must create thesis, and everybody cannot prepare thesis just a week, 2 weeks, but it takes months, yeah, to create thesis, and that's one of the examples of creating. Okay, thank you very much. Yusin, you are the last person in this group. I think you must give a concluding remark. Okay, you must be lucky person, Yusin.
Okay, so for today's presentation, I have summarized the things that my friends have explained. So by using Bloom's taxonomy, Bloom's taxonomy is a very useful tool for teachers and educators to utilize when they are creating lesson plan and assessments to promote critical thinking. And as we have explained, lower order thinking are the fundamental skills that are remember, understand, and apply. On the other hand, high order thinking, as the name suggests, requires a higher level thinking compared to the lower order thinking skills such as analyze, evaluate, and create. By using revised Bloom's taxonomy, teachers and educators can decide which materials to have to be retained in a low or high thinking order, because some information only needs to be memorized or understood instead of being analyzed or evaluated. I guess that's the summary.
Okay, give applause to this group, everybody. Give applause, raise an emoticon or something like that. Thank you very much, guys, for helping us understand. All right, now let's move on to the next group. And this group discusses cognitive load theory of multimedia learning. Okay, good luck.
Let me tell you about the first questions. Why teacher should learn about these theories? Because multimedia at this time is needed to support the learning process. So teachers must try to master 12 elements of multimedia principles.
Okay, the second question is tell us how people process the information. Actually, people processing their information from the most iconic one or the most remembered one, and then they can also forget it. So that's why we need the cognitive load theory to actually process the information perfectly without any kind of reducing the memories of that.
Okay, so yeah, the next point is about short-term and long-term memories. So the short-term memory refers to the ability to recall a tiny amount of information from a recent time period time. And meanwhile, the main characteristic of short-term memory are it's limited in capacity and duration. Meanwhile, we have long-term memory, which is referred to the ability to recall memories from the past. Long-term memory stores information for a longer period of time than short-term memory. The example of short-term memory is the ability to recall what we have learned yesterday, and the example of the long-term memory is what kind of course of activity we have learned or experienced in the last year. I think that's all from me.
Please explain this. This is how people process the information. Okay, any one of you? Yes, you, Mila.
A little bit forget about this.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead.
But I think we process information from visual and auditory. Then the information is loaded in our working memory, which is CLT, and then we have learned that, and we have long-term memory. If I'm not mistaken, is that, sir? Because I'm a little bit forget about this.
Okay, suppose a teacher is teaching a present perfect. Last meeting, teachers taught present tense. Okay, so students must have schema about present tense, right? Okay, but now a teacher is teaching a present perfect, which is totally new to students. Okay, teachers is giving presentation. Students will receive visual inputs. Okay. While the teacher is teaching, of course, talking, then he or she is giving auditory input. Okay. And the information the students are receiving are limited, right? Because of working memory, and that's just few information obtained here. Okay. Learning is happening when the students are activating their schema, okay? Their schema is something about the present tense. And so how can present tense is connected with the present perfect? Oh, that's something that we need to know, and that is learning actually, yeah. So the students try to connect their previous learned experience, that is present tense, with the present perfect. And they try to find the connection, how they are connected, until they find out. So this is retrieval, yeah. So they take the present tense schema until they
try and get data, yeah, and finally they find out that they are not totally related in terms of meaning. Present perfect and present tense are different, but they are the same only in terms of auxiliary. So present perfect is called present because it has have and has auxiliary. She has gone, they have gone. Yeah, so that's why it's called present. But in terms of the meaning, they are different. And their understanding is here. Students are reconstructing their knowledge. Okay, and that's how learning is taking place. How is learning is taking place. Okay, so that's why it is important for you as teachers to activate and know what your students have known before teaching. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation of Group 3. And let's give applause, everybody, for Group 3's presentation. Thank you very much. You did very good job, guys. Okay, keep up your good work.